Well, welcome everyone. This is a very special episode. We will be pre-recording today for season 2. This is episode 19. I am your host and creator, Brittany, and I'm joined today by my wonderful sister,
your favorite co-host, Amanda Armour. Nice to meet everybody.
And we have the pleasure of being joined today by Mr. Captain Jay Edwards Jr. Can we call you Jay? Would you rather go by Joey, whichever you prefer?
I like Captain in front of it. It sounds good, you know.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
No, just call me Jay for the podcast. This will work.
The boat whisperer.
Right.
Not the boat whisperer.
But yes, we're joined tonight by Captain Jay. That's what we're going with tonight. With an extensive background. I'm going to kind of let him get into it as we get into the episode. So Captain Jay, if you don't mind, just to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, no worries. And I'll try not to be too long-winded. Famous last words, right? But originally I'm from Oakland, California, born and raised. I went through a cycle in my life that most African Americans should be, well, most people in general should be able to relate to. But after being born and raised, you reach that age of, 19 to 23 where you got to make a life decision, however you imagined your life going. You're not rich and, diving and swimming in money and everything. So my family background kind of was leading me to the military. So that's the path that I chose. And in doing that, I joined the Special Forces community. I have severe ADHD. I can't sit behind a desk in a computer all day. So I always have to do something that's going to keep me interested. And I've always been, kind of an anomaly with regard to being raised in the Bay Area. Anybody that knows Oakland, you've been out that way, or LA, or just think about where you're from. I was always a kid that was listening to Linkin Park and, looking at the stars. And I mean, I had dreads and gold teeth and all that, but we grow and we get older.
I love it.
People, I pull those pictures out every now and then, and people look at me like, "Wow, okay." But in any event, I joined the military and I went to the Special Forces community because my sports career was over. I had a child at the time, and I just had to make a decision that was significant to, one, taking care of my responsibilities and my daughter, and also advancing my professional development. And I could just easily see that if I did nothing, then I would basically stall out and be stagnant, like a lot of my friends that were still in Oakland dealing with that day-to-day grind. And or you said you're from San Diego, so you may even have friends that you grew up with that are still doing the same shit, which is just not appealing at all to any degree. And it shouldn't be to any adult or anyone that's going into adulthood or maturity or that wants more. So that being said, I went through a very intense selection, and I will give a disclaimer. Everything that I say about the military is my personal opinion. The military is awesome. They're batting 1,000. The government would never do anything, and they always have everyone's best interest at heart in all endeavors. So now that we got that disclaimer out there.
I was just like,
Right. The government has everyone's best interest in heart. But I joined the Special Forces community, and that was not easy, to say the least. And we got through that. And that being said, I learned a lot over the last decade that actually built on skill sets, dreams, accomplishments, ambitions that I already had.
Right.
So, without tapping into all that, because that's a whole segment in and of itself, you really kind of get an opportunity to step outside of your own self-perception of who you believe that you are. Because you have a lot of people, a lot of adults, a lot of teenagers. I see it every day. I talk to kids, college students, doctors, you name it. And everyone kind of traverses through life with this perception of who they believe they are. But the only problem with that is that it's never been tested. Most people go through their entire life without realizing the full potentials of their own capability because they haven't pushed themselves to that, or they get to a point to where the challenge begins and they either reach success early, which is ideal, or they just give up or tap out, or they don't have the resources or the mentorship that pushes them ahead. Right. I had that, and early on, I decided that I didn't need it to be what I wanted to be. And it's one of those paths where, through gradualism, once you see what success feels like when you build something from nothing and you really determine and figure out and character off of truth, not off your perception of whoever has been, I guess you can say,
yeah, right.
Yeah, whoever's been an influence, whether that's Cardi B, whether that's DMX, like once you actually figure out who you are, it's a lot easier to move forward in the world and move forward comfortably without ego, without doubt, without skepticism, and all those other things that may creep into an individual's mind that would literally break them down.
Totally
so all that being said, I sent you my resume, and I know it was probably may have been the first, I'm not sure, probably won't be the last, but I sent that to you like I was telling you before we actually got on this, because I have a lot of things that I'm good at. I had a lot of things that I pursued. I got in the military and immediately pursued school. I'm working on my doctoral degree in organizational psychology. I've always been into people. I have my open water. I appreciate it. I can't wait to be done with it. I'll tell you that shit.
Yeah.
But I have my open water dive qualification. Obviously, I'm a boat captain, so I wear many hats. I have, between me and my lady, we have 5 children. She's an attorney and she's crushing it. She just got promoted to felony attorney. She'll get mad when she hears me say that shit. But, we're doing everything that we're supposed to do. And as my grandmother would say, I'm not doing bad.
Amen.
That was long-winded, wasn't it?
You're fine.
No, oh my gosh, so necessary. And thank you for that journey that you took to get where you are. And I know you said that early on you did have that mentorship. Now, was this in Oakland? Was that how you even pursued going into special forces? Or was this once you got in the military, that's kind of like the structure and you gained that mentorship to continue, what you were supposed to do?
No, the mentorship came by way of the military. And I don't want to confuse anybody that may see this. Let's start with Oakland. I grew up 87.
Yeah.
I grew up in a generation in Oakland where, the Black Panther movement had been crippled, and everybody that was around, you went into the crack epidemic, and, I kind of came up in that post Bay Area environment of rebuilding the military, the Navy leaving. There was a Navy base, and just kind of the beginning of the end with economic collapse. That being said, myself and it should be, I hate to say it, but it's kind of the truth. If you go to any hood across America or any hood in general in the world, you'll run into a lot of what I like to refer to as false mentorship. And that's a bunch of people telling you to go out and pursue your dreams and do things. However, that motivation and mentorship stops, because that's all it can be, is motivation, because the people that are encouraging you to do these things have never themselves accomplished it and don't know the way. So you almost have to go out on your own, and I guess you can say a path of self-discovery and discovery of the world, because we all hit that point to where, you came up in San Diego, but for me, I remember being in Oakland, and I remember, like it was yesterday, being at the bus stop, waiting on A2L, going down E14 or International Boulevard, for anybody else from Oakland that may be watching this. And I remember all those little micro events that, got me here. So it's not easy it's not difficult for me to go back and reflect and just remember what I was thinking. But I had no idea why people would come out to the Bay or come out to Oakland and just be not necessarily terrified, but just tight. Like, you know what I mean? They just felt like, I got to get out of here. And we would see that, everybody being, from Oakland, it's like, oh, you're acting bougie to some degree, or you think you're better, or whatever the case may be, wherever you're at. I didn't see that until I left and went to Atlanta. Actually, I went to Bakersfield first, because I went to CSUB for a little bit. And then I went to Atlanta, and then I went back to Oakland. And when I got back to Oakland, after that little bit of exposure into different communities, because Atlanta is nice. Like, you got wide streets, it's clean. All the Black people say hi. I'm like,
yeah, right.
I'm ignorant. I'm like, why everybody saying hi to me? They don't know me.
I culture shock as well. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So when I got back to Oakland, and I'm seeing, like, cars parked in the front yard, and like the entire street, nothing but cars parked, like in a gross way. And I'm like, oh, this is what everybody sees.
Kind of just hanging all day.
Like, this is what everybody sees. And as I've gotten older, like, obviously I have no reason to go back. I was going back to Oakland here and there for my grandmother, because she was out, but she passed. And it's just like, there's no reason to go back. And I was actually just talking about this with one of my guests that was on one of my cruises. And ultimately what it is once you reach a certain point of maturity, you just, especially being in San Diego, because San Diego in and of itself is hard to leave, but you just lose the desire to even have to embody this unnecessary aggression to exist in a society. Like, why do I have to walk outside and put on this form of aggression just to exist, to show the potential of harm to somebody that may be thinking the worst? I don't know. Nobody wants to grow up or live in that environment. And then, you know, a person may say, well, no, if you scare, you'll think like that. But no, it's like natural selection. If you know you're in a dangerous environment, you're naturally going to adapt. If I put anybody that's, yeah, if I put anybody that's borderline a good person, I'm not even talking about with regard to moral character. You could take the most nice person you've ever met and put them in the middle of the hood. They'll be forced to adapt to those ways just to survive. And that's just the way it is. So it's like, it makes no sense to put yourself in that scenario. I'll stop there.
No, because we were, it's great that you're saying that, because we were just talking about this and, you know, living in survival mode and carrying that with you, even when you go off to do the things that you have set out to do, you are successful, you know, and kind of holding on to that attachment that, I guess, what were we saying? Like, it's more like an imposter syndrome of being where you are, success, and then also an imposter when you go back and feeling like you no longer relate to what you're supposed to relate to, I guess.
Kind of, but I wouldn't necessarily.
I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I left for the same reasons. So, like she was just saying, we were just talking about that this morning. Like, I beat myself up a lot of times about the things that I went through and what I, you know what I'm saying, trying to mature myself into. And so when people ask me, oh, why do you move to Las Vegas? And I be like, oh, I'm in time soon. I be like, nah, I love home.
Are you breaking up?
A little bit, but no, she's making a good point. And I would even say, because we've seen this before too, especially in the economic crash of 2005, a lot of people were moving from the Bay Area.
Of going back and definitely relate.
Oh yeah, sorry.
A lot of people. No, you're good. Yeah, a lot of people are moving from the Bay Area or whatever the case may be to Antioch or down to LA or Houston or whatever the case may be.
Right.
However, they weren't mentally matured yet. And then, you know, however many years it's been later now, like you look at all those places where people were basically migrating to, and they're shitholes, to say, you know, to say the least, because you brought this terrible ass mentality to this new developed area, and you just basically just carried over the baggage of that community to a new community. You know, my mom was one of them. She swear to God, she not ghetto, but you know, she went down to Atlanta. Oh God, don't even get me started on that. But she went down, listen, if anybody's from Atlanta, the Black people that went to Atlanta in the 2005 era that just developed the attitude of being bougie, shame on y'all. It was the most annoying thing ever. Oh man, it was, anyway, but yeah, so it's very interesting. I mean, we all get to a point to where, you know, if you are fortunate enough to have enough common sense to, you know, do a little bit of introspection and look at your surroundings and want more for yourself, you know, the journey will call to you and pull you out of those situations and scenarios. The problem that people typically will run into is they're either afraid or unwilling or make excuses for themselves that will prevent them from taking that leap of faith and just leaving. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just
my
leave.
Sister used to be on my neck.
Right.
She was like, sis, like, just look around. And it took a long time for me to realize and want to take that leap of faith and just look around like, yeah, this is not what my life is going to be like.
But it has to be something really traumatizing. Even with business, I don't even give business advice anymore to people that like aren't fed up or frustrated with something, because it's hard trying to convince people what that looks like, because they just won't see it. They'll continue to make excuses. But specifically in this scenario, there is such a thing of not being able to miss what you've never had. And for those who aren't dreamers, they just haven't seen it. They haven't seen it. They don't know. It's like if you've never experienced love, you really, I mean, to some degree, there's implicit knowledge in that to where you don't have to be loved by everyone to know that you want your spouse to love you. But with regard to being in a community where everybody's nice, everybody's cheering you on, I just gave you my story. You know, I'm reasonably matured. I'm not saying my moral compass is to guide the country or the world or anything like that. But
Right.
when I first went to Atlanta, I was immature to the sense that Black people were saying hi to me driving by that had never seen me before. And I took offense to it initially because it was new. So you have to
Right.
get out of your environment and go on a path of self-discovery.
You're right. That's just like with me, sis. I think I told you when this guy was blowing his horn at me in traffic, and I'm like, "Why is he blowing the horn at me?" And he was trying to tell me that my light was out. But back home in Tennessee, somebody try to blow the horn and try to get you over. Either they trying to rob you, shoot you, or something going on. And I was
So,
not
yeah.
stopping. And she was
I
like,
kept
Right.
explaining, like, see, I was like, see what you carried with you, and now that mentality, you know what I'm saying, and like you're stunting that growth of what's actually happening around you.
Right, right.
This to grant you with.
But it's
So
a
yes,
beautiful thing once you get out of that scenario because, and I think
right,
I've mentioned it earlier, once you see it, it can't be unseen. Like
Mhm.
your mind has literally developed to a new level of maturity that you can't go back on. Like you would have to be forceful to say, I'm in a better location, so now I'm going to go back. If that
No, and
does happen, typically it's because of a relationship or something like that.
mhm. And I want to go back to what you were saying, of you being in Oakland, kind of gaining the experiences that you needed to realize that you needed to commit yourself to something else. And in committing yourself, you kind of dove in head first. Like I said, looking at your resume and the things that you've done, going into special forces. I mean, it wasn't just any, like I know some Rangers in the Army. I know, some people
Right.
who done some things, but you've been on some high profile missions and things like that. How do you prepare yourself mentally for that at such a young age as well, of going into those high pressure situations? Because that, for me, that's not normal. That's different level of leadership. That's different level of nerve. So what made you jump into special forces, and can you talk any about that at all?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a Sagittarius, and like I was telling you earlier, one, I have an extraordinary desire to travel and do different things, and
Yeah.
I usually gauge where I'm at or where I'm standing in life by whether or not I'm moving with the crowd or if I'm not. And
Right.
typically, if I'm not moving with the crowd, throughout my life, I've been doing the right thing. I don't want to talk too much in military terms because I hate to be one of those dudes that get on here that just sound like, hell yeah, wake up and run 7,000
Yeah.
miles a fucking day and don't get a
You
wife
don't want
because
to
fuck
David
that, you don't
Goggins.
deserve it.
No,
No, I don't want to go
no,
through
no,
all that.
David Goggins.
My life isn't like a continuous coping mechanism,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? So that being said, let's look at it on the far left end of the spectrum, not special forces, just high schoolers. You have to have a vetting process for anything that you want with regard to success, with regard to your community, with regard to where you want to be around after you make that initial decision. If you identify that you're hanging out with fucking losers, then you have to say, hey, I'm hanging out with fucking losers. I want to do something different. Like I got to get rid of these people because they're going to lead me down the wrong path and I don't want to go down that path. Now, after that point, after you've made that conscious decision, everything you do after that is up to you. But this kind of comes back full circle to taking that leap of faith and just fucking doing it. A lot of people get caught up in over analyzing the obvious signs
Right.
that they need to do something different. Going through a special forces community, it's the 21st century. Information is readily available. It's not like we're living in the 1400s where we got to go climb up the fucking mountain to go speak to the wise man to get all the information. You can
Right.
chat GPT everything you need to fucking know. You can Google search
hello.
everything you need to know. I'm
Yeah,
not a fan of reinventing the wheel.
you're right.
I'm not a fan of doing it. I believe that, smart people have figured this shit out as a psychology practitioner. Like there are people that literally live their entire life strictly for the purpose of just thinking.
Yeah.
Nobody that you ever will come across will say a new thought. You may think it unless you're talking to Elon Musk or some shit like that, and that's trying to
Yeah.
put monkeys in space or
Yeah.
whatever the case. And even that's been done before. So whatever you think you're going through, it's happened already.
Mm.
Just like it comes to a point where it's like, read a fucking book. But there is a level of grit that you need to have. And that also translates to anything that you want to have in life. The things in life that are worth having, people aren't going to just give it to you.
Yeah.
You can't just ride this victim bandwagon. I mean, it's easy to say, it's easy to do. People will listen to you in the meantime, and some people fucking won't. Some people don't care. They won't want to hear. And
Yeah,
those
I'm
are
done
typically the
listening.
people that have gone through the fire. But, you know, to some degree, you just have to accept that what you're getting ready to do is about to be hard as fuck. There's no easy way to do it. Your mom's not coming to save you. Your dad's not going to be there for you. It's just going to be you. And that goes back to what I said. Like, a lot of people go through life not knowing who they really are. Special forces, day one, as soon as you hit the sand with regard to the Navy or a Ranger or whatever you may be, and anybody can, you know, chime in, like, or whatever, if you leave a comment down below. The day you get in that first day, that one day of training, you're going to figure out real fast if you're the person you think you are. You're just going to figure it out really quick.
Thanks.
And that's just the bottom line. The same thing can be said about the hood. We do it to each other. I mean, go back to whatever your prospective city may be and just listen to two dudes get into an argument. The entire engagement is about who's real and who's not. And then if nothing happens, objectively speaking, everybody's like, both of you niggas is corny.
Right.
right.
That's all life is. So it's like either
nothing in life, be real with yourself, be true to yourself.
So if you're going to put yourself, if you want to accomplish more, if you're going to put yourself in the, you know, we're specifically talking about soft in my journey. There was nothing more than just the initial decision. I don't get caught up in analysis paralysis. It's like, I want to do this. How do you do it? I'm going to do it. And if I fail at doing it, fine. I'll try it again. If it becomes like just, I'm just fucking up habitually, then it's not for me. You know what I mean? You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable with failure. I tell my children, I was like, anytime you try anything new, you're going to suck at it. You're not going to just pick up a guitar or a podcast or instruments or a microphone and just be perfect. Like, what are you measuring yourself against? You know what I mean? That's the whole thing in religion. Like, you know, no one can be Jesus or God. It's just an orienting figure that you can say, where am I at versus this perception of God? Am I walking a Christly path? You know what I mean? Same thing. Like, all these lessons come full circle. It's just, you really have to think, and no one really sits down and thinks like this on a daily basis. But, you know, in self-reflection, you really just have to ask yourself, what do you want to be and what are you going to do to get it? And what's the outcome if you don't accomplish what you're setting out to accomplish? Which is a level of thought that people don't go into.
No, seriously.
I'm getting into my psychology bag. We're gonna talk about being a captain.
No, I know. I'm like, okay, doctor. Okay, doctor. Hold on.
Almost.
No, but that's facts though. People don't realize, you know, you have to sit down, you know what I'm saying, with yourself, you know, and figure out what you want to be, what you want to do, you know, because time is creeping up on us, you know.
Right.
A lot of people on the internet, you know, playing games, you know, but I like how you put that.
And what are the stakes? Like you said, if you don't make it. So if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, it will happen, right? ET says that all the time, Eric Thomas, and just what you're willing to put into it every day. It's going to be hard. As we know, you know, starting this, we're in season 2, and that may sound great, but it doesn't to us. I mean, it means a lot, for sure. But, you know, knowing what goes into it all the time and just being like, man, okay, well, we probably won't even be like recognized or anything for another year or two, or, you know, and that's just what you're setting yourself
up to. You can't care. You literally can't care.
Like, every day we're just excited. Every time we get, you know, someone who says a yes, that's exciting. And just, those are my wins. And knowing my why for it is creating the network and creating the community of like-minded individuals that are really ready to change the world. Not what we've been in, not in this capitalist environment that has, you know, especially in our community, hasn't really worked for us a lot of times. I want to create something new, and I feel like this is the best way to do so. So it's one foot in front of the other every day. So I love that.
I wouldn't necessarily say a capitalist environment is the downfall. I would say it's the lack of the will to achieve new knowledge. Capitalism is one of the few systems that has worked in the world. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's not perfect, but I wouldn't say that. But another little tidbit, and this is just for anybody that may be listening, and this is all keeping in line with, you know, NSW and in pursuit of accomplishments and self-orientation and all those things like Maslow's laws of self-orientation, et cetera. What people need to do, especially in the 21st century as we move forward, is you really got to kill the noise that's not contributing to what you're trying to accomplish. And by noise, I mean anything, any outlet that's not supporting or in line with what you're trying to do, what you're trying to become. I literally, if I take on a new business endeavor in special forces, in chartering and being a captain, I'm surrounding all the information that's coming into me with people that are in that industry.
Yeah.
People have a tendency, especially Black people, to go to their friends and family to ask for information, and just people in general that really just don't know business. They're going to go to their nearest resources, but people that haven't seen it, that don't live that life, they're only going to be able to give you, you know, baseline motivation.
They're limited.
You don't, you don't know what you don't know. It's much better to just kill all your outlets, even if you got to delete everybody that's your friends and just, you know, follow people that do what you do. Andrew Tate mentions this, but he uses the analogy of if you're around a bunch of people business owners that are talking about ice cream and you just sit around them for an hour, you're going to learn something about ice cream.
Yeah.
So you have to intentionally put yourself in those environments, and I'll leave it at that.
No, that's genius, and definitely it seems so simple, but no, is the complete formula of knowing, you know, what you want to do and surrounding yourself with that. So I love that you said that. Speaking of what you surround yourself with, I kind of want to segue to the nonprofit.
Okay.
And it's still in line with military, of course, the American Initiative, but you being CEO of that, and, you know, I mean, the list goes on, like I said, of the things that you're doing at one time. But with that,
I'm kind of a big deal.
You really are.
I'm joking. Somebody gonna get in the comments
honestly,
and just literally just take a piss.
I need to give you your flowers now, because you really are.
I appreciate it.
And especially in this, you know, I know a lot of, you know, veterans and things like that. How did you get involved with this nonprofit organization? How do you get to that level in it, especially with everything that you contribute to just life, your family? You know, can you talk a little bit about the American Initiative and what that means to you?
Yeah, definitely. So the American Initiative is a nonprofit. We provide rehabilitative services for basically first responders, but specifically special forces, firefighters, and police officers. I kind of put a pause on it temporarily. I'm waiting to get out the military, because the military is awesome and they have your best interests at heart. And everything they say and do is the truth.
It's true.
And they have your best interests at heart. But in any event, this kind of comes back full circle to what I was saying earlier. And I have a motivating story that kind of put me on this path of the nonprofit. And it also ties into my doctoral degree. But I injured my back on my last deployment. We're on speedboats in the ocean with guns and all kind of shit. And, you know, speedboat, they've equated it to being in a 40-mile-an-hour car crash over and over again throughout a career. And it's not one of those things. I don't want to make this sound like, you know, dudes are just like suffering, because, you know, you got these people are the boys, they love the job. It's a fun job. We drive speedboats. It is what it is. But, you know, physically the human body can't withstand that. I was 240 pounds. I lost 30 pounds because of the injury I got on my last deployment. I messed up my back. I won't go through the details. However, injuries are synonymous with first responders. We're doing a lot of stuff that people just don't realize. Like, even when the Black Lives Matter movement was going, or defund the police, people can easily lose their sense of humanity and really looking at the individual as a person and not as some type of, you know, I guess you could say, facet of an idea. They'll dehumanize easily. But I've done room clearance. I've shot these guns. We shoot more ammo than the entire San Diego Police Department. One of us.
Wow.
I know what this looks like. I know the stress. People don't get it. And when people need help, on the other hand, which is like the hippos or hypocrites, they'll call these people for help. But then on the same time, you know, when it's convenient, they'll bash these people. But anyway, that's another topic. I felt with my injuries and what I've seen in my community, I wanted to give back. I've always wanted to go into business. I've never enjoyed the thought of working for somebody. It's perfectly fine for those that want to do it. But I said, cool, I've identified an issue. I believe that we could we could use more rehabilitative equipment to, you know, basically help with the advancement of our operational longevity, specifically speaking to special forces. However, that was well within my bandwidth. So I was like, okay, so what can I do? And I always do things in rules of three. I use the Steve Jobs method, simplification, because it's the easiest to go to. So I was like, what can I do that won't overextend me, but that kind of fits in line with that? So I incorporated firefighters and police officers because we wear the same equipment. And, you know, you can feel what you want to feel about it. Like, I don't really care, because that's just my societal significance that I felt like I can give back to. And with what I mean by rehabilitative equipment, it could be foam rollers, it could be massage guns, it could be an R&R trip. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna just start the nonprofit. I'm gonna put the word out, and I'm just do what I can. I had no intentions of getting rich from that, because I know I was going to go into business and do my own stuff, which is 100% narcissistic traits on the deviant side for me. Like, make no mistake about it. And there is such a thing as healthy narcissism. So nobody mistake that. You have to be, or you won't be successful.
Exactly.
Yeah, please. I challenge somebody to battle me with words on that. But
as an athlete, as an athlete, I believe that to the fullest. So yes.
So, you know, once again, you know, all these themes are starting to align here. And the story I was mentioning is that I had a CO, I won't say his name, but reputable guy, sniper, very reputable. And he basically said something that we all hear. If you have a problem and you identify it, don't bitch about it. Either do something about it or shut the fuck up and fall in line.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I came
in at the right part.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally that simple. Either you're going to be the person that goes through life after identifying an issue and complaining, because we already understand how bureaucracy works. I have a fundamental disdain for being in any type of environment, especially with all the time that we're forced to put in school, in a failing educational system at that, to become an adult, sit with other adults, identify things that are retarded, and then be like, hey, we're going to do it anyway because that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? Like,
I was saying that this morning. I was like, I'll give you 5 minutes, but solution based after that. Like, what are
it literally kills me. It takes the drive out of you. It really makes you see it imprisons you. It imprisons free thought.
Yes.
Like everything that we've gotten, and I'm talking within regard to the sense of humanity, everything that we've gotten to this point has been by way of free thought. And then to go into a community or whatever, to where you're dealing with overarching bureaucracy, to where they're not doing the things that are right, either morally or through common sense. And then you're having, I mean, the average person, to a large degree, and this is like a pessimistic viewpoint, the average person is pretty stupid. You know what I mean? But many people aren't, like with regard to like basic common sense. And it's really hard for people to do things that go against common sense with enthusiasm.
Right.
And then you start talking about job satisfaction and all these other things. So all things considered, when I want to do something, I just do it. I don't ask anybody. I'll bounce it off probably like a close friend, and then I'll find a mentor that's in that realm, and I'll do it.
Yeah. I'm exact same. No, that's your Sagittarius showing for sure.
100%. You should say God likes Sagittarius. That's the only way we like to be referred to.
No, seriously.
Every Sagittarius watching has a God complex. Yes. Unless you're a December Sagittarius, they're autistic.
Yeah, that's so say that all the time. But with that,
you just spoke for my brother then. I'm just playing.
Goodness. But as someone for a knack for public speaking, because I will give you that, and I'm already engaged, but what's your secret to keeping, you know, your audience engaged, entertained, and whether you're giving a speech, you're leading your troops, or you're just sitting on your boat now, you know, engaging your clients, like how do you do it? Because I mean, for us, it's like, yeah, you know, you have the gift of gab, but it's something else. Like, what do you feel like your specialty with that is?
It's going to fall into your strengths. And for anyone that's interested, you can find out your strengths by doing the Gallup's strengths assessment, and it'll tell you what your strengths are. And that's not to say that you can't do other things and other strengths. It'll just let you know what you shine in. For me, I'm an arranger. I'm futuristic. I operate in context, significance, and competition. Do I think about those things through my daily life? No, that's just what I naturally do. I'm an arranger. Now, with regard to public speaking and how I speak, a lot of it is, first of all, you can't talk to anybody if you don't have anything to talk about. We've all been on the phone call in junior high school, grade school, after we passed the "Do you like me? Yes or no" note, and they put yes, and you get on the phone and it's crickets. But
Right.
ultimately, you have to be an interesting person. Like, what experience do you have? Where have you been? Like, how deep does your bag go to be able to relate to another human being? I can talk to a lot of people about a lot of different things in a lot of different areas of the world because I've been there and I've established it and I've seen it and I've done it and I have friends that do it. And if I can't talk about it, I can pass them along to somebody who can talk about it, or I know a little bit about it. And if I don't, then I don't. I'm also Sagittarius. I'll figure it out, whatever. I'll probably just tease you, whatever, for even knowing it because I don't know it. But a lot of it is personality. A lot of it is character traits because you also could be an introvert. And, I didn't know this for a long time until I really came across some true introverts, but like a conversation like this would like drain them for a week.
Yeah.
So one is knowledge, exposure. And then I tell everybody, even when I'm hosting briefs, whether it's to, a group of upper echelon executive level management or high school teachers or students, the easiest thing you can do is tell the truth. I like Judge Judy used to say, you don't have to think to tell the truth. People get caught up in trying to sound right. Like, just be yourself and tell the truth within reason. Obviously you're not going to talk to a bunch of nuns and you use every little bit of profanity that so you got to read the room. But all you can do is tell the truth and people will respect you a lot more. Like, I give briefs all the time. And, people will come in and they'll try to hit people. The bureaucracy and PR stuff has been so overdone that you can sit back and just listen when you're getting the PR rant. And I mean, like, people don't care about that. They're coming to see you. They're coming to know who you are. They're coming to know what you did, what's your unique journey. Like, how can I achieve success after hearing about your trials and tribulation? Because what you have to say may relate to what I'm going through. You mentioned David Goggins earlier, like, everybody's not going to have that same story and is going to want to wake up and run a million fucking miles for no reason. Like I wasn't bullied as a fucking kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't my life, dude. I can't relate to that. No shots at him. That was kind of a stray, but it just is what it is. Like, I love him to death. He's motivating people, but everybody's not going to be able to listen to a Jocko and get that, because not everybody's a Navy SEAL that were, lives are at fucking stake. Like, you don't need that. You got to get to the office on time because half of your fucking department could die. Like, no, dude, that doesn't relate. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you can apply those things, but nonetheless, at the end of the day, talking to people is really just reading a room, having the exposure, communication, accommodation, and really just being able to be a good person. Just be a good person and people will listen to you. And if you're boring, you're boring. You're just boring that day. Like, you're not a fun person. Like, that's a thing too. So there are plenty of people that I love to death, would never want to go to a bar with them and have a beer, ever. But I literally lay down my life for them. But, that's just, you got to accept who you are.
And I love that you said that, because I think once you go into the military, especially, you are greeted with so many different types of people. Like you said, there will be people, like, of course you lay down your life for them, but you're like, man, like, I can never even get like anything out of them, or, we can't have a real conversation.
You suck. Like, fundamentally as a person.
Yeah.
I blame your parents.
But I love you. Yes. It's knowing how to be that chameleon in places as well. So since we do a lot of networking, our next event will be live and networking, things like that. We always try to give tips, because it is a lot of people who are new to entrepreneurship a lot of times that we're meeting, that they are good at what they do, but it's the piece of selling themselves and realizing that they're the business a lot of times, especially with social media, that we have to, get out of. And so I like the points that you made and helping everyone. I'm one of those people too, though.
Yeah, and I can't speak to everybody on that, but I'll speak to Black people in general. Like, we get caught up, and I'm saying this from experience. Maybe it's just me. Like, if I'm capping, let me know in the comments. Tell me I'm bullshitting. I don't know what I'm talking about. Whatever. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. But Black people get real caught up in trying to be the cool mom and dad and try to look out for everybody. And through that process, they get taken advantage of. Like you need to set your standards, and you need to set them, and you need to stick to them, because you'll get taken advantage of. And at the end of the day, like you are going into business to make money, not to hook people up, not to be the cool mom or dad. I'm gonna use that analogy because I think everybody can relate to that. And whoever's listening to this too, yeah, I said Black people, but this can apply to everybody. But specifically, I'm talking to the people right now. You got to put your goals, standards, and what you hope to achieve, your end game, in that entire picture, and stick to it. And people will respect you more. And the people that don't mess with you and doing that process, let them go. There is self-reflection in that, to where you got to say, you have to understand economics. If you need to, everybody should understand economics if you're going into business. If you're in capitalism, you should understand economics. The Basics of Economics by Thomas Sowell is a good audiobook. I recommend everybody listening to it. Robert Kiyosaki, be a student. But yeah, you have to apply yourself in that way and call yourself at the very beginning a businessman or woman. Otherwise, you'll be looking at 2 years until you make a profit. And another thing that I was just mentoring a guy the other day, super cool dude. But when you don't know what you don't know, the first initial thought, and let me preface this, there's a right way and a wrong way to do a lot of different things, obviously.
Right.
You have to do risk assessment and know the consequences to both of those. In business, I'm a firm believer in you have to do a little bit of wrong to do some right sometime. I already told you guys, my moral compass is not pointed all the way straight to where the footsteps of God, but I do understand the system, and I know if you playing a fair game in a game that no one's playing fair that's made it, you already lost. You already lost. So don't try to go into a business before you even know if you can make money doing that shit. Like, people will be so front sight focused on developing the LLC, going through the state, and then starting a business in California alone is a L. But getting legal and doing all this other stuff, like, you don't even know if you can make money doing what you're trying to do.
Yeah, you don't know if anyone even likes what you were selling. Yeah.
Right. It costs. No, the dude that I just linked up with, he said he wants to do an entertainment company. And I talked to him for a little bit. I don't know him fully. I'm gonna go have a beer with him actually this evening. But I told him, I was like, yo, pause the brakes. You're looking at insurance and all this other stuff. You don't even know if you can do what you're trying to do yet. But I'm like, I tell you what, I'm in an advantageous situation. I got a boat. Cinco de Mayo is coming up. I tell you what, and at the time I was like, you got 6 days to make it wiggle. And if you can't do it, it ain't for you. But you're not gonna you may or may not be able to get this opportunity again. So then I sent them a little GIF of Eminem. With the whole, you got one shot. Right. Do not miss your chance to blow, buddy. You say, but at the end of,
but that's life though.
That's
like,
best case scenario.
Like, you use Eminem, but that is life for real. You only got one shot. It only take one time. Like, I'm pretty sure, I know a lot of people don't like Sexy Red, but I'm pretty sure, you know what I'm saying, she was thinking the same thing when she came out. Like, okay, I only got one shot at this. I might sound horrible. I'm going to say some nasty things and things that people ain't going to like, but you only got one. And look, she blew up. Just,
We're not going to reference that, though.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
But I'm just saying.
No, let's go somewhere else. How do we go from, no, you went too far.
I'm going to pull a Shannon Sharp.
I know. Wait, yeah. Hold on. I need something stronger for her to do that. No, but I get what you're saying though, for sure.
No, but even on that, I do want to say I support Sexy Red. Like, obviously it depends on the table that I'm at and what we're talking about. But a lot of people lose sight of the person they were when they were 16 or 17. If I pull back if we go deep through somebody's life resumes,
we're not.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Like I just said, if somebody you're gonna see dreads, gold teeth, and
I would never imagine
all of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Right. But it goes back to you staying true to yourself, being who you are, no matter what it is or whatever, she's being true to herself and who she is and standing on it.
Right. And I would only hope that, like with any human being on this planet, that as you grow, you mature and you say, hey, I'm not 19 anymore, because you're going to have to.
Right.
Period. So, and we'll leave it at that.
Because life will let you know right away you're not 19
right
anymore.
Right.
If your needs don't.
At the old folks' home.
Yeah, but I was about to say if your needs don't first, because
oh my God.
That's how I know.
But I like you gave him a shot. You told him he got 6 days, and I hope it's amazing. I hope he, show up and show out.
He's like, we're
Definitely.
seeing, we're gonna see. Yeah, no, that's amazing.
If he
And
don't,
that's
I'm gonna do
such
the
a
same thing
blessing.
and get paid for it. So
He's like,
that's
no,
what
it's
I
still
told
gonna
him.
happen.
I was like, there's already a backup plan in place. I'm in a position to give back. So it's your lucky
No, it's
day because
amazing.
you came reference from a friend of mine. So I'm gonna do what I can to get you on the path.
No,
What else
that
you
is
be doing
amazing.
on that boat?
Minding my damn business and telling people to mind their business.
They minding my business. but yeah, how did you even segue into, you know, wanting to own, you know, a boat and do these cruises? And what did that look like? Because like you said, in Coronado, I mean, I frequented that place and I know how
Yeah.
expensive everything is. So to have all of that, you know, like you said, knowing you have to make money off of this, knowing how much boats cost, the insurance of, you know, chartering people. How did you
Right.
get into it?
It all goes into exposure and the things that I've been doing on my skill sets. Look, I didn't just one day decide to just go buy a boat. That would be stupid. I think we can all agree to that. So I've had a little bit of experience. I'm in what is it? A US Coast Guard 100-ton master. I'm a 200-ton international master of yachts. With regard to my professional expertise as of now in the military, like the stuff I'm doing right now is night and day difference in the stress level. I mean, we're talking, hey, you know, we got a problem in this area. We need you guys to go figure it out. You know, you have a target or a vessel of interest moving from country X to country Y at 10 knots, and you're in country Z. We need you to figure out a plan to hit this vessel in a period of darkness in approximately 6 days and put a 2-minute offset. So when the helos come, you guys aren't hitting the vessel at the same time, etc. Like this shit is layers to this shit. So what you guys, and this, even outside of all the extreme examples, it's easy to look at where somebody's at and not really consider where they started from. You know, I acquired these skill sets, talents, mentality over a period of 15 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what I'm doing now is literally just me chilling. And the crazy thing about it is, like, the chartering business is cool, but that's not my primary focus. I do that as a subsidiary to my other business, which wasn't even on my resume that I gave you. So I'm just literally aging my other company. You know what I mean? But I enjoy being on the water. I enjoy exposing people to the water. But once again, it's all synonymous with what we've been talking about. When you want to do something or you set your sights on something, figure out what the pipeline looks like, write it down. And then as you achieve those little goals through gradualism, check them off. It may not take you a month or two. It'll never take you that amount of time. And if it does, it's probably not even something worth having. But just start walking toward that goal and eventually you'll get to it. With regard to getting people on board and chartering and all that, I had no idea what that looked like. But guess what? 21st century, I don't like to reinvent the wheel. What are other people doing?
Already. Yeah.
What apps exist? I'm not about to overthink this. I got a boat. I gave myself a timeline. I accepted my skill sets. I can drive boats. I'm not an engineer and I'm not a painter, but I know how to fix things up a little bit. So I gave myself a 3-month drop dead time or time limit. I'm like, I got a boat. In 3 months, I want to turn a profit. If it's $50, if it's $20, if I don't turn a profit in 3 months after getting the boat ready, bringing people on board, then I'm dropping it and I'm selling the boat. And I gave myself that strict timeline, and that kept me in line. I didn't try to go on YouTube and look for whatever video with whoever has all these tools and this background to support all this. Like, no, you'll be working for 2 years before you ever accomplish that. And when you get to that 2-year mark, it'll still suck. Just get to a point that you can be proud of, and then bring people on board and figure it out as you go. I'm a huge believer in that.
I love that.
And you can figure it out as you go. But the thing is to start. Just fucking do it, as Dan Peeny says. Just do it. You want to go sell socks? Go buy some fucking socks from Alibaba and sell them. Just fucking do it. Because if you do that, you'll know more after that experience than you did the day before. And you can reorient yourself like, oh, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. And then when we start talking about the other things we mentioned, clearing out the noise. Well, this dude sells socks too. What is he doing? And what is this person doing? And after a while, you'll get to a point to where it's like, oh, I see. A lot of the people, especially in San Diego, and I'll tell you guys this, a lot of the people that are rich, especially in San Diego or in general, they're not highly intelligent. I would even beg to say, and I know this sounds hypocritical to what I said earlier, where I believe the average person is pretty dumb, but I'm talking about rich people, so I'm not going back on what I said, because the majority of people are fucking dumb. But a lot of rich people aren't hella smart. I run into them all the time. I'm in their homes, I'm talking to them, we're shooting the shit. They're fucking idiots. The only difference is they know how to play the game that you don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
I know dudes that I grew up in the town with that were literally selling drugs the entire time I was growing up, and they're hella smart mathematicians. They just don't know the right game to play. No one told them, no one mentored them. They don't understand how to move in business. It takes a certain type of mind to be able to move work from the East Coast or another country to the US, the communication, the knowledge. We're talking program management. We're talking communication. We're talking timeline management. We're talking economics. We're talking it's all semantics, but everybody's doing it. You just got to figure out the game. And once you see it, and once you see it, very important too. Once you see it and you learn the language, look at any new endeavor that Black people have actually integrated into. Once we learn the game and learn the language, it's a wrap.
We always take it over. Yeah. No, you said it. You said that.
And that's just a fact. So, but it is what it is.
We have to get Captain J back on here because listen, James, you have my note papers already filled up. Hold on. I didn't get through any of my questions. No.
I said again, you notice after the conversation how smoothly Captain J flowed.
Yeah. Right. I'm Captain J. Listen.
They had questions in the beginning.
No, it is amazing. And I want to kind of touch on, I know you do mentorship. I see that you're an avid teacher. I kind of want to go to your book that you wrote. Now I know it's on voting success. Mm-hmm. But can you tell us a little bit about that? Give us a sneak peek into maybe your favorite tip on there and what inspired you to write it.
Yeah, we actually already talked about it. Like everything that you guys should see, anybody who's observing this, and hopefully you made it to this point. If you haven't, then shame on you. I wish I had a job. But it's standard operating procedure. So it's not like a book to the sense to where, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end point and character archetypes or anything like that. There are people that reach out to me through my social media, and there's going to be people that reach out to you guys too that are interested in how you got started in doing all those things. Right. And part of overcoming that imposter syndrome, first of all, I'll tell everybody that's looking to go into business, whatever you're doing, everything that you do is content. Everything from waking up in the morning to how you're writing, like literally recording what she's writing right now is content. People just want to know. You have to remember and you have to think not from who you are now, but from who you were when you didn't know anything. Wars are won through information. That applies to business. Success is found through information. That's why people gatekeep it. That's a Cat Williams reference right there.
Yeah.
So all that being said, the ebook, it's just my standard operating procedures and how I prep to go on a charter, what I'm looking for. It goes into just little skills that would give the individual that's looking to get in the maritime community the basics of what they should be thinking about with regard to safety, with regard to maritime navigation, with regard to their own personal comfort and identifying their own limitations. It's just a check sheet. And it's one of those things where it's like, you should be doing this every day. And a lot of people don't understand the power of a simple checklist. Like most people get confused, especially as we become adults, because they don't give themselves enough credit for being busy, on top of the fact that they don't give themselves enough time to just simply exist as a human being. And then they end up being fragmented in their thoughts. And then you get to 3 o'clock and the day is almost over. And you got all this shit that's bouncing around in your mind. You have to organize that stuff. That's just how our mind works. Like we're not, as human beings, we're not developed for the 21st century. There's too many inputs. You have to write it all down. And then when you write it all down, you can see it on paper. You can go through a checklist, and that will enable you to develop your boundaries with your professional colleagues, with your family, whatever it may be. If you don't organize your personal life and what you have to do literally to survive, literally to fucking survive, you can't establish boundaries because you don't know what you're putting boundaries around.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to take your class whenever you have your organizational psychology, whatever you're doing.
Right. That's what I've been quiet this whole time. Don't think I didn't have no questions. I didn't want to ask you anything. But,
no, send it. Yeah, you've been real quiet. I'm about to get on you. What's up?
Dropping gems and just been speaking knowledge since we've been talking. I'm just been enjoying it, soaking
what we're
it all
talking
up.
about today. Yeah. So that's what's even crazier and such a blessing, because this is our conversation earlier of just the people moving things out, what we have to do. So yeah, we're taking the class.
Yeah, he gonna have me in tears again. I was already crying this morning. I was calling my sister like, girl, God don't play about me. Like,
there you go.
All you gotta do is put in the work, baby. All you gotta do is believe in him, and he gonna carry you the way.
Right. I meet you. Hey, my granddad said, pastor, he just passed away. He said, if it's not godly, let it go.
Yeah. If it's
Amen.
not godly, let it go. And before I let you go, just finally, as we're wrapping up here, with your extensive knowledge, experience, I just want to know, if you were to write a memoir about your life so far, what would the title be and why?
This gonna be good.
That's a difficult question because there's so many things you can touch on. I'm in that moment right now where it's like, don't try to think of something to be super deep.
Yeah,
but also don't sound like an idiot.
But you're deep. So.
Right.
What would the title be? I would say Legacy of the Lost or something along those lines.
Legacy of the Lost.
And this is just me obviously shooting from the hip, but
yeah,
you know, just getting into it. And this goes back to what I said earlier. A lot of us come up off false mentorship. So to some degree, everyone's lost. We're coming from however many years of slavery, loss of complete connection to where we're from, culture, language, all the things we've heard over and over again. Even if you're white, if you're, you know, Native American, we're entering into a new technology renaissance that's, whether
learning
you accept
everything.
it or not, it's going to change the world. Not only do we have artificial intelligence, we have artificial learning, which is synonymous to artificial intelligence. So you're dealing with literally, you know, what Sarah Connor was trying to warn us about in Terminator. You know, you're dealing with a hyper smart computer that's teaching itself that if you give it a problem, not only will it solve the problem, but it'll make itself better at solving the problem.
In a language we don't understand.
So to a large degree, and then this is just me thinking about it more as I'm talking to you as well. And also giving myself buffer time to think, you know, all those things considered, our unconscious mind is lost. Like everybody, it's easy. I really admire Asian culture. They have one of the longest standing cultures in the world. And when you talk to Asian people, when you look at Asian interviews, you'll see that they don't really let in a lot of outside influence or a lot of external variables, we'll say. They keep their culture to them. With that being said, they have a long track record of what they did, what worked, what didn't work, dating back thousands of dynasties.
Yeah.
They can pull on all that information. And that also ties back to what I said about data earlier. Information wins wars. Information advances a society. We don't have that information. We're literally almost every generation, we're starting over to some degree. You know what I mean? So subconsciously, consciously, you know, we're just running in a circle. So I would talk on that, and I would probably more so try to develop an antidote to moving beyond that and getting everybody on the same page through talks of Martin Luther King, through Farrakhan, through Malcolm X. I'm not I'm not a fan of the turn the other cheek ideology. I'm just not taking no ass whooping for nobody. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, it was at the time, it was what was necessary, and I'll never shit on that. So,
Right.
Yeah.
No, that was beautiful. Thank you so very much for that. I think that's something that we'll put in the title because no, that definitely summed it up. And obviously, to me, summed up a lot of your journey of feeling that way, learning yourself, developing, and you're just continuing to soar and create a legacy for yourself, your family, past and present, and of course, the future. So we are so honored and thank you so very much. Captain Jay, we're going to keep that calling you that here. It has been a true honor to have you, and we will be airing this episode as a live on the 9th. So we thank you again for joining Sister Soul Sessions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was nice to meet you.
Cheers. And we will be in Coronado and we will be booking a party cruise for sure.
Right. And follow my damn page too. Don't be a half-ass.
We do.
No, not y'all. I'm talking to whoever's listening.
No,
if you made it this far, you're already engaged.
You are.